Hello, Oracles! Well, with the split news that we have potentially coming tomorrow for Tesla stock, I have a lot of people asking when is the best time to buy the stock? Well, a lot of you in the comments always say the best time to buy Tesla stock is yesterday. The second best time to buy it is today. Well, obviously we're at the weekend, so we can't follow that, but when it comes to a split, usually, historically, the split, when you get the announcement, it's going to run up into the actual split date itself. Then, after that, it usually sells off, and you get another decent buying opportunity afterwards. So let's start with tomorrow and what we could potentially see from this proxy. So the information that we have is, within 120 days of the close of the fiscal year, a company must put out their proxy statement for the annual meeting and when they're going to be having that. That is May 2nd, which is tomorrow. Now, the last 2 years, Tesla has filed for extensions due to COVID and other reasons, so they have had their annual meeting in September and October. So this year, with a lot of the COVID situation out of the way, we are anticipating that Tesla will go back to having their annual meeting in June. Now, this is just a guesstimate, and we don't know for sure, but we should be getting that information tomorrow. In the past, when they have it filed for the extension, it shows it, but what we have seen this year is that they will be filing it within 120 days, which would put us at tomorrow. So we're anticipating that information, and it can come out today, but anytime between today and tomorrow being the deadline, we should be getting this information. Now, when we get this information, it is going to be giving us the information as to when the annual meeting is going to be so that we as shareholders can vote on the extension of more shares to be allowed for a split. So I honestly don't know if they're going to announce in this proxy statement what the potential split is going to be, or if they're just going to be announcing the annual meeting date for us to know when we are going to get that information later. So still a lot of uncertainty. And then we look at, all right, what are they going to split? We see JP Morgan has put out some letters to their clients stating that Tesla is looking to do a 20-to-1 split. And there has been enough of them out there that seems like it's legit, but that's kind of like, way ahead of schedule. So again, take that with a grain of salt. We don't know for sure if that's truly it, or if the JP Morgan was just preparing their clients for a potential for a 20-to-1 split if that is what Tesla decides. But again, we will get that information in due time, potentially tomorrow. And now when it comes to the split itself, whether it's 20-to-1, 10-to-1, 5-to-1, whatever it is, just remember that it does not change the valuation of the company whatsoever. All this does is just change the amount of shares that are available to be out there. So if you have 100 shares and they're all worth $1,000 a piece, and they do a 20-to-1 split, you will then have 2,000 shares that are going to be worth $50 a piece. So the valuation is all exactly the same, the math works out the same, and the reason that companies do a split is because many a time, like looking at options, for instance, or many of you out there in other countries don't have access to fractional shares, bringing that stock price down does allow for more investors to be able to get into the stock, and it does give more options for the options to be played that are out there, as the cost of it will come down significantly. I do not play options myself, but for those of you who do, you know that every time you want to buy one contract, that is 100 shares of the stock. So thinking about right now, trying to play options in Tesla, you're looking at, $90,000 to $100,000 just to play options in the stock. So if you could bring that down to $5,000 or $10,000, that would be opening the door significantly for more people to be able to get in there. And there are other benefits as well to their employees for their employee stock purchase plan, because it allows them to buy even more as well through that plan. Plus, when you're looking at the company going forward, this is a sign of strength, because historically, yes, you'll get two great buying opportunities. Usually it's the day the split is announced if you get in quickly, but it does run up so you have some time. And then when you do get the sell-off afterwards, which historically does usually happen, you'll get another great buying opportunity there. But when a company does this, it usually signifies that they feel very strong about the fundamentals of the company in the future, which is why, despite the fact that it doesn't change valuation for the company at all right now, it usually grows further in the future faster because of the fact that the company is so strong fundamentally. This is again one of the reasons why, despite many of us having conversations about Elon's antics and how it swings the stock price up and down and how volatile the stock price is, we always go back to look at the fundamentals of the company. And it does stink that, sometimes the stock price goes up and down wildly and your portfolio is red and green and red and green. But fundamentally, over the long run, this will be going even more green, and due to a split, it should grow even faster. And so some of the great news that we have is this week Elon did sell some shares. Lots of different reasons why he could have been doing this. Listening to Gary Black on Twitter, looks like, maybe he sold some of the shares that he picked up back in November and December at a higher stock price around $10.33. And then maybe, when he sold them this time around at $8.33 as an average cost, he's taking a loss on this to be able to offset some tax write-offs in the future. Plus, by doing this, that means that all of the money that he gained from these sales, he can utilize without having to pay taxes on them because he sold them for a loss. So, lots of different factors that are going on there. As far as I'm concerned, I took it as a wonderful opportunity to pick up more shares, anticipating the split news we are going to get tomorrow. Now, as Gary Black had also mentioned, perhaps Elon sold last week instead of waiting till this week when we are going to get split news and most likely a bit of a run, because Elon did not want to be accused of, waiting and selling at that time when the stock is running up because he knew that information. And so we should see tomorrow. I'm hoping that we are going to get the information sometime tomorrow, and they will actually give us what the intended split is going to be. So hopefully we get that information. I don't know. Now, as far as how it's going to behave on this information, we had gotten the information before, just when they were thinking about doing a split, and the stock ran up a little bit, and then the macro environment pulled it down significantly. So now there's still all these rumors that are out there, so I don't know if the actual announcement of what the split is going to be is going to move the stock a lot. I don't know. This is sort of like we already know the news is coming. Now it's more of a, finding out the fine details of it. Plus on Wednesday we have the FOMC meeting, which, thinking about timing, if it does behave like it did in March, we might actually get a bit of a run on Wednesday. So we might get some split news, get the FOMC meeting. We could see a decent run in the stock this week if that's how it behaves. And then on the 11th, we are going to get the CPI data, which that could swing the stock one way or the other as well. As we have seen with Google and Amazon, they've announced their splits, and their stocks haven't been doing the greatest since then. Granted, their splits are still a month and 2 months out, but the macro environment is just that heavy right now, where a split news could be very short-lived run of euphoria and then come down. Either way, as far as I am concerned, in my opinion, if this happens, it is still going to be a great buying opportunity. Because again, going back to the fundamentals of the company, those are still growing at a rapid pace, which means that eventually, when this blanket of FUD is lifted off of the entire macro environment, Tesla will be able to surge forward. And now when it comes down to the split ratio that we can get, don't forget that the higher the ratio is, the slower the stock is going to move afterwards. If we get a 20-to-1 split, that is a lot more shares that are out there. Granted, yes, the valuation does not change, but if we go from $1,000 down to $50, it's going to take a lot longer for us to get back to $1,000. It's not going to be like it was after the 5-to-1 split, where we split and ran up relatively quickly within the next year to get back to $1,000 again. It's not like you're going to be able to do that, because think about the actual reality of it. If we're, going for numbers right now, if we're at $1,000 for a stock price and we do a 20-to-1 split, to get back to $1,000 is basically saying that you're going from $1,000 to $20,000 for a stock value. Now, I'm pretty bullish on this stock, but I don't think we're going to be able to go from $1,000 to $20,000 in a year. Probably not even 5 years, maybe in 10 years, but again, that's a very long ways out. So just remember that when you're factoring in your excitement when it comes to a split. Not trying to say don't be excited. I am super excited about splits, and I think we're going to see at least 3 more after this one over the next decade. However, getting us back to that $1,000 will take longer the higher the split is. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think we are going to get for a split ratio? Do you think it's going to be 5 to 1, 10 to 1, 20 to 1? And do you think we're actually going to get that information tomorrow, or if we're just going to get the information about the annual meeting? Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are and what your plans are for when you are going to be buying the stock. If it's something that you're going to be, waiting for split news, whether you're going to buy when the split is announced or after the split, or if you're just dollar cost averaging every day. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all of the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. Thank you so much. Have a great one.